the outside world. Fast forward just 9 months, and the same player accomplished something almost nobody saw coming. She stunned the reigning Wimbledon champion in one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. Think about that for a moment. A player who was ranked outside the top 1,000 less than a year ago suddenly defeated one of the very best players on the planet. That incredible turnaround completely changes the way we should look at Alex Eala's next match, because this is no longer just another routine third-round encounter. It's a collision between two players carrying very different but equally compelling stories into the same court. Alex Eala handled her business on Wednesday with a 6-1, 4-6, 6-2 victory over Alicia Parks to advance to the third round of the National Bank Open. On paper, it looks like a straightforward win and a satisfying piece of revenge after Parks defeated her earlier this season at the Australian Open. The scoreline tells a story of resilience, but it doesn't tell the whole story. What stood out wasn't simply that Eala won, it was how she won. The opening set was nearly flawless. She dictated play from the center of the court, controlled the tempo with confidence, and executed the aggressive baseline tennis that carried her to the DC Open title just weeks earlier. Everything looked sharp, composed, and under complete control. It was the version of Alex Eala that has become one of the hottest players on the WTA Tour. Then the second set shifted dramatically. Parks began taking the ball much earlier, flattening out her ground strokes, and attacking relentlessly off the first strike. The momentum changed almost instantly. Eala's rhythm disappeared for stretches. Parks earned the crucial break of serve, and suddenly the American leveled the match by taking the second set 6-4. To Eala's credit, she never panicked. Instead, she reset mentally, elevated her level once again, and dominated the deciding set 6-2 to secure her place in the next round. That ability to recover under pressure is one of the qualities that has defined her remarkable rise over the past several months. But at the same time, the second set dip cannot simply be ignored. Against elite opponents, those momentum swings often become the difference between victory and defeat. That is why the biggest takeaway from Wednesday isn't simply that Alex Eala advanced. It's that she revealed a small vulnerability against players who strike the ball early, hit flat through the court, and refuse to give her time to settle into rallies. That detail could become extremely important in the next round because the opponent waiting for her presents a completely different challenge. While Eala was completing her victory over Parks, another remarkable story was unfolding on the grandstand court. Caty McNally was proving that rankings sometimes mean very little when confidence, momentum, and belief come together at exactly the right moment. Suddenly, what once looked like a favorable section of the draw has become one of the most intriguing matchups of the entire tournament, setting the stage for a fascinating battle between two players whose careers are moving in dramatically different, but equally inspiring directions. In November of last year, American tennis player Caty McNally was ranked number 1020 in the world. Not number 102, not number 210, number 1020. She was grinding through ITF futures tournaments, often playing in front of only a handful of spectators, fighting through qualifying draws simply to keep her ranking alive after recovering from a serious elbow injury that had already required surgery. That story matters because what happened in Toronto this week only makes sense if you understand the player standing across the net from Alex Eala in the next round. Just 9 months later, McNally stunned the tennis world by defeating the reigning Wimbledon champion, completing one of the most remarkable comeback stories on tour. That result completely changes the way this section of the National Bank Open draw should be viewed. Alex Eala did exactly what she needed to do on Wednesday, defeating Alicia Parks 6-1, 4-6, 6-2 to reach the third round. On paper, it looks like a convincing revenge win after Parks had beaten her earlier this season at the Australian Open. But the scoreline doesn't tell the entire story. The opening set was vintage Alex Eala. She controlled the baseline, dictated rallies with precision, attacked from the center of the court, and displayed the same confident tennis that carried her to the DC Open title. Then everything changed in the second set. Parks began striking the ball earlier, flattening out her ground strokes, taking time away from Eala, and suddenly the momentum shifted. Parks earned the break she needed, claimed the second set 6-4, and forced Eala into a deciding third set. To her credit, The Filipina star responded brilliantly, regaining control and closing out the match 6-2. It was a professional performance, but it also revealed something important. Against opponents who rush her timing and deny her rhythm, even Eala can look vulnerable. That observation could become extremely significant in the next round because Katie McNally presents an entirely different challenge. While Eala was battling Parks on center court, McNally was producing one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. Facing newly crowned Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova, she found herself trailing 5-1 in the opening set, a deficit that usually signals the end of a match. Instead, she won 6 consecutive games, stole the set in a dramatic tiebreak by winning 4 of the final 6 points on Noskova's serve, and then completely dominated the second set 6-1. It wasn't simply an upset, it was a statement that her comeback from injury is complete. But the most fascinating part isn't just that she won. It's how she plays now. Spending more than a year rebuilding from a torn elbow ligament forced McNally to reinvent her game. Rather than relying purely on power, she developed a style built around variety, slices, sharp angles, intelligent point construction, and frequent trips to the net. She uses low skidding backhands to break opponents' rhythm, changes the pace constantly, and refuses to let rallies become predictable. At Wimbledon, she frustrated elite opponents with exactly that formula, carving slices through the court before finishing points confidently at the net. That creates a fascinating matchup against Alex Eala because Eala thrives on rhythm. Her game is at its best when opponents supply pace that she can redirect with her exceptional timing and heavy topspin. Against Parks, once that rhythm disappeared in the second set, her preparation became slightly rushed, her footwork arrived a fraction late, and her contact point drifted farther back than usual. Parks challenged her with pace. McNally presents something potentially even more complicated. She doesn't overwhelm opponents with power. She disrupts their timing entirely. That's a completely different tactical problem and arguably a much more difficult one to solve during a match. Instead of exchanging heavy baseline rallies, McNally forces opponents to generate their own pace while constantly adjusting to slices, short balls, changing spins, and surprise net attacks. There isn't much history between these two players, which makes predicting the outcome even more intriguing. On paper, Alex Eala enters as the higher-ranked player riding tremendous momentum after her recent title run. But stylistically, this could be one of the toughest tests she has faced all season. If Eala can stay patient, create her own pace, and avoid becoming frustrated by McNally's variety, she has every opportunity to continue her remarkable run in Toronto. If not, one of the tour's most inspiring comeback stories may produce another stunning upset. That is exactly why this third-round matchup has suddenly become one of the most compelling matches of the entire tournament. There isn't a perfect historical comparison for this matchup, but there is an interesting echo of one. Go back to the early 2000s and think about how many powerful baseline hitters struggled against opponents who relied on slices, touch, and old-school serve and volley tactics instead of endless power. Players like Justine Henin built legendary careers by embracing the unfashionable shot when the matchup demanded it, especially her low, skidding backhand slice that constantly disrupted opponents' rhythm. Those shots weren't always spectacular or highlight reel material, but they were incredibly effective because rhythm players need rhythm to play their best. Take that rhythm away and even the biggest hitters can suddenly look uncomfortable. Katie McNally, whether by necessity after elbow surgery or through deliberate evolution, has developed a version of that same disruptive style. She mixes slices, changes pace, attacks the net, and refuses to let opponents settle into predictable baseline exchanges. In today's WTA Tour, where aggressive first-strike tennis and heavy topspin dominate almost every match, McNally's variety stands out because so few players use it anymore. That's exactly why it can be so dangerous. This isn't nostalgia or romanticizing old-school tennis. It's a very real tactical challenge waiting for Alex Eala in the third round. Eala's game is built around timing, clean ball striking, and using an opponent's pace to create her own offense. When she finds rhythm, she can overwhelm almost anyone. But when that rhythm disappears, her preparation shortens, her footwork becomes slightly rushed, and her consistency drops. We saw flashes of that against Alicia Parks when the American flattened out her ground strokes and stole the second set. McNally presents an even more complicated problem because she doesn't simply hit harder, she constantly changes the speed, spin, height, and direction of every rally. That forces opponents to generate their own pace while making split-second adjustments on nearly every shot. Initially, I believed Alex Eala would enter this match with a significant physical advantage. After all, she came through her victory over Parks in a relatively efficient 3-set match, while McNally endured an emotional marathon lasting more than 3 hours as she fought back from a 5-1 deficit against the reigning Wimbledon champion. On the surface, that seems like an obvious advantage for Eala. But the more I looked at the schedule, the more that assumption fell apart. Both players now receive the exact same recovery window before they meet on Saturday. 2 full days is generally enough for elite athletes to recover physically, especially after the adrenaline of a dramatic comeback fades. Muscle fatigue disappears much faster than confidence, and confidence is exactly what McNally gained from producing one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. She doesn't arrive in this match as a tired underdog. She arrives believing she can beat anyone after taking down a Grand Slam champion from the brink of defeat. Meanwhile, although Eala advanced, she also experienced an entire set where her normally dominant game briefly slipped away. That doesn't mean she's in trouble, but it does introduce an important psychological variable. McNally may actually step onto the court carrying more belief than most people realize. That's the hidden storyline almost everyone is overlooking. This isn't simply the fresh favorite against an exhausted underdog. It's one of the hottest young stars in women's tennis facing an opponent whose confidence may be higher than ever, armed with a playing style specifically designed to disrupt the rhythm that makes Alex Eala so dangerous. That combination could produce one of the most fascinating tactical battles of the entire National Bank Open. This isn't simply a case of an underdog riding momentum. It's a player coming off the biggest victory of her comeback against an opponent who, in her previous match, revealed exactly the kind of stylistic vulnerability that could be exploited. So where does Alex Eala actually hold the advantage? She absolutely has one, and it's a significant one: depth. Katie McNally's slice-heavy game creates tremendous variety, constantly changing the pace and rhythm of rallies, but it doesn't consistently produce the deep, penetrating shots that powerful flat hitters generate. That gives Eala an opportunity, if she approaches the match correctly. Instead of waiting for pace to arrive, she must be willing to create her own by stepping inside the baseline, attacking short slices early, and taking the ball on the rise before it has time to sit up or lose its energy. If she does that consistently, McNally's greatest weapon can become an invitation to attack rather than a source of frustration. The real challenge isn't power, it's patience. Eala must resist the temptation to force quick winners and instead accept that this matchup will require carefully constructing points, moving McNally around the court, and waiting for the right opening. That's not always her natural instinct because she thrives when she can redirect an opponent's pace. But against a player who constantly changes spins and speeds, discipline becomes just as important as shot making. The opening 4 games could tell us almost everything about how this match unfolds. McNally's serve isn't a traditional weapon loaded with aces or overwhelming power, but its disguise fits perfectly into the variety-based style she has built since returning from injury. She mixes locations well, keeping opponents uncertain with kick serves out wide and flatter deliveries down the middle. For Eala, return positioning will be critical. She cannot afford to hesitate or guess because uncertainty against a player who thrives on variety is exactly how you end up reacting half a step too late. That's the same pattern that briefly appeared during the second set against Alicia Parks when her timing slipped and her rhythm disappeared. If you're looking for the tactical blueprint, pay close attention to Eala's cross-court forehand during the opening exchanges. If she immediately uses it to push McNally deep into the deuce court before opening space on the opposite side, it will be a strong indication that her coaching team has identified the rhythm disruption challenge and built a clear strategy to counter it.